What's up, YouTube? It's your boy coming back to another video on this channel. As always, I am the Rhino. We got a guest on today's show. You might, if you like comics, you might have seen him on Instagram. We got Thekeeegshow.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? It's Dimitri from Thekeegshow. Thanks for having me on, Rhino.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's great to have you. So kind of give you guys a little backstory. I accidentally came across your show. Love comics. I grew up with Iron Man way back in 2006 or whatever.
What was that? 2007, I think, was Iron Man the movie. But yeah, I mean,
the
close
first
enough.
Iron Man.
It seems like forever ago, but it also seems like yesterday.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, and I kind of it's like, hey, this guy like talks about comics. I like this guy. Let's follow him. And I finally get to have you on the show, on my show.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm always down to talk about comics. So it kind of started because I was anyways talking about comics, and then I'm like, I might as well just make a show about that. Because I'm anyway spending my time talking. Like, might as well have something to, to show for it,
So just to let you guys know, for those of you who are listening to the show, I would highly suggest go to the YouTube channel, Rhino and the Bad Podcast, mainly because my man here got almost every single Marvel comic cover on as his background. So just
yeah.
So I'm kind of stoked about that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. There's like a I know this is gonna be a podcast and kind of a live video. Obviously, like there's just I personally like watching videos of people talking. And podcasts are cool too, but like then you get to imagine what they look like. But when you watch a video, you get to see what they look like,
Exactly. So I guess we can kind of start with the first question of how did you get involved with talking about comics?
Talking about comics, or how did I get into comics itself? Because like they're both long stories.
Okay, let's start with the first question of how did you get into comics, then we can kind of move into
Yeah. So I think most kids get into comics by watching a cartoon first and finding out about comics. Like, I don't know who's reading the comics and not watching the cartoons, because kids watch cartoons. So, growing up in the 90s, there was a lot of great 90s cartoons. So we're talking Spider-Man, X-Men, Superman, Batman. That leads us into Justice League, Teen Titans, which leads us into like bigger and better stuff, right? And so obviously starting in the cartoons and trying to like get to know each character and what they're all about. And when you're 5 years old, you're not grasping everything, but then my parents weren't really into the cartoons that I was watching, unless it was like Tiny Toons or like, Looney Tunes related stuff. That's my dad's level of interest. He likes that kind of stuff. But my dad didn't grow up reading American comics. My dad grew up reading like European comics. So I have a bunch of his comics. I just did a TikTok video on it. Basically, like Tintin was a big one.
I remember reading Tintin as well.
Yeah. So Tintin, Asterix, those were like the big two. And then my dad also liked Archie growing up. So I have a little bit of Archie comics. I have a lot of like Tintin and Asterix, And so like I feel like those are comics. They're not like American comics that we're thinking about, but like it's sequential art. And when you're a kid, you're learning left to right sequential art. You're learning how to read each thing. But then when I used to go to the library a lot as a kid, and I just found out that they had like a couple. Back in the day, it was just a couple of comics at the library. I got into comics there, and it just kept like, then I went to bookstores, and then I started buying books. So it's been a long road, but that's roughly like my mom taught me how to read, and my dad gave me my first comic. And I feel like those two together got me started.
So I don't mean to back the train up a little bit, but
yeah,
you said European comics, and then you listed Archie. Archie's
American. Yeah. Archie's American, but like European being Tintin and Asterix. Also, weirdly enough, like my dad grew up on Disney comics, but Disney comics are very popular in Europe and not in America, because America has all the Disney like America can handle. But Disney comics, Donald Duck had his own series, Mickey Mouse. There's like a whole bunch of Disney comics that like Scrooge McDuck was first in the comics before he was in DuckTales.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, as far as I know. But yeah, there was like ongoing, like they're just really popular in Europe.
Oh wow, I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah. But my dad didn't have the Disney comics to hand down to me. But he had the Tintin and the Asterix and the Archie, you know. Again, Archie, American, but it's not like Marvel and DC or anything, right? And that's what I was really interested in growing up, is the Marvel and DC stuff. And I'm like, I love Tintin and I have all the comics and whatnot, but like Marvel and DC is like my big stuff right now, you know?
Right. I mean, Marvel and DC kind of, a lot of people grew up with both of the movies, at least, if not the comic books, and even more have grown up with the comic books and the movies.
Yeah.
So
when I was a kid, we didn't have that many movies. Like
when we were children, we didn't have that many movies.
Yeah. Like I don't want to like call out your age or anything. So I don't know. But me, I grew up in the 90s, right? And like
I was born in the 90s. So
yeah. So it's like 90s, we had Batman movies.
Yeah.
And no Superman movies in the 90s. And then once we got out of the 90s, we got Spider-Man and X-Men and like Daredevil.
Oh,
but even then it was like kind of slow, you know. Yeah. We didn't get too many. The Hulk came out. Yeah. The MCU as we know it like came way later.
That came in like 2008, 9, 10 into the 2010s.
Right. And it's you know, it's a powerhouse now, but like kids don't understand that like back in the day, anything you could watch, like you just watched, you know?
Yeah, on TV or to a limited extent in movies.
Yeah.
And by the way, for everyone like the younger generation, this is pre-Netflix. Just to let you guys know.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, Netflix back in the day was just you get DVDs by mail.
Yeah.
Like people don't remember that, but like Netflix wasn't streaming. Netflix was they will mail you DVDs in the mail. That's how it started.
Exactly. Which was for those of you who don't know what DVDs are, just go watch a YouTube lesson on what DVDs were.
DVDs are still around. I mean, they're just Blu-rays, but like, you know, Blu-rays are still a thing. Some people don't like them, but
yeah,
they're still around.
So how'd you get, now we'll transition to the next top question of how'd you get into talking about comic books?
Yeah, talking about comics is a whole nother thing, right? Like, you got to be like really into things or wanting to learn. Like talking about comics is tough, and sometimes you don't have people to talk about comics with. Well, you know, growing up, I had like my best friend, and like we would talk about like Star Wars and stuff. And you know, a little bit of comic stuff, but like mostly like Star Wars and stuff. But as I got older, I was like, okay, I want to talk about comics. I want to talk about these things, these shows that are out, talk about pop culture, that sort of thing. And it was tough. So when I was in high school, I started comic book club and nobody showed up. It was me and my friends. And then that lasted like 3 months of high school, like sophomore year of high school. Nobody showed up because comic books weren't like a big thing. But comic book club, like I always wanted something to talk like somebody to talk about comics with. And so then I got online and I was on a message board back in the day, and I was able to talk about comics with them. And then when I got older, I, you know, made new friends and were able to, and sometimes we would stay up till like sunrise. Like we would do like an improv show because I was like, I've always been a performer. And we would perform our shows, like our comedy shows, and then like at 1 a.m. to like sunrise, just be in the parking lot outside the theater, just talking about comics. And then I'm like, well, I'm spending however many hours after a show doing that. Let's make a podcast. And so I started Thekeeg back in 2015, 2016, somewhere. I think 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. And that was just an excuse to just put what I'm thinking about onto like video, right? Like have something to show for it.
Cool. So now the tough question: Marvel or DC?
People always ask me that, right? Just like people always ask me like who my favorite characters are. I can't choose, right? But I can say like in specific situations in which way or another. So Marvel and DC, I can't pick Marvel or DC, but Marvel movies over DC movies. Right?
Sense, yeah.
DC cartoons over Marvel cartoons.
Oh, hands down.
Right. Video game wise, that's split. That is split because we got Spider-Man, which is like one of the best games I've ever played. like Spider-Man on PS4, right?
Right.
One of the best games I've ever played. But then on the other hand, you do got the Arkham games, right?
The Arkham games are solid.
Yeah. We have yet to get a proper like kick-ass Justice League game, but there is a way to do it. There's a way to do a kick-ass like Teen Titans. The most kick-ass DC games are the Lego games. So Lego Batman 3, Lego superhero villains, those are really good. I haven't played Lego Batman 1 or 2, but like, so I mean it's even when it comes to that, right? When it comes to the comic books, it just depends. There was a point in time where I stopped reading a lot of DC because I didn't like the New 52. I have a lot of problems with the New 52, but then they started making it better, and then I'm back. I used to read more DC than Marvel, and then it switched over around that side because I was really liking what Marvel was doing, and then now I'm reading everything of everything. So there's no such thing as a bad character. There's only such thing as a bad writer. You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and a writer can make a dumb character great.
Right. Like for me at least, I fell in love with Iron Man right away.
Yeah.
Mainly because
of the movie.
Well, it to include the movie, yes. But for me, like I was like trying to figure out. I was growing up, like I always had this curious mind, like trying to figure out why the world works the way it does.
Yeah.
And then so Iron Man came out, I think like 2007-ish, give or take, 8-ish. I was in high school at the time. That old. For those of you who are listening and watching.
It was 2008.
2008.
I just looked it up. Yeah. 2008.
2008. So went to see it in 2008. I was still trying to figure out, like, I'm a sophomore going into junior year of high school.
Yeah.
What do I want? I have to start at least thinking about, like, all right, which, like, do I want to go to engineering, sciences, trying to figure that out for college. And as soon as I saw the movie, it's like, okay, I want to go become an mechanical engineer. And that's the end of the story.
Right.
Because, like, for me, Iron Man was this like mechanical engineer genius out of MIT who basically created, like, I don't want to say Godfather, but Godfathered into nanotechnology in the later movies. It basically created this whole bunch of stuff that I, as an engineer, want to do in the future.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why I fell in love with Iron Man, like Tony Stark.
Yeah. I wanted to be Batman when I was a kid.
Yeah. A lot of people want to be Batman.
Yeah. But the problem with Batman is you got to be perfect at everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Just be ready for everything, be perfect at everything. No one's going to be perfect at everything, right? So then you find, like, Batman's a lot of people's, like, first superhero. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, right? And then, like, there's so many superheroes out there. So Iron Man, like, you're lucky. Like, you love Iron Man 2008, but, like, before 2008,
there wasn't
Iron
much,
Man he wasn't a popular hero. The only reason Marvel and the MCU were able to make the Avengers is because the Avengers weren't popular.
Yeah.
Like, people could get on my case for it, but, like, the Avengers comics weren't good back then. They weren't good up until I would say Avengers Disassembled, New Avengers #1. But that's like 2002, I think.
Oh, wow.
Before that point, like, Avengers weren't popular. Justice League, super popular. X-Men, the most popular. X-Men's always been the most popular. But X-Men beat Avengers, like, hands down. Like I'm waiting for, like, when the Avengers or when the X-Men show up in the MCU.
Right.
I got middle fingers up for the Avengers because X-Men, that's my people.
I would like to see Captain America versus Wolverine. That's just a personal thing for me.
That would be cool. That being said, I do like Sam Wilson, Captain America. So there are certain Avengers that I like that I'm like, I don't want to see them lose because I love Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I'm sorry, your boy Tony Stark. I'm fine with seeing him lose every single time.
Damn. That's how it is. Flips the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of going back to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
For those of us who are old enough to remember, Tobey Maguire was our first Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Then we got Andrew Garfield, and then now we got Tobey Maguire.
Tom Holland. You said Tobey Maguire twice.
Sorry. Tom Holland, my apologies.
Man, you're just stuck on Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. I'm an old school G. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Toby's lucky he got 3 movies. Like, he got 3 movies. Other, like, Andrew got 2,
Yeah, he got 2. Tom Tom Holland got 3 with
You get 3 plus 4 if you consider Civil War.
Yeah. 4.
And Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame.
That is true. So he got like what, 5 or 6 basically.
Yeah. Yeah. That's 3 plus his own plus 3 others. Yeah.
Yeah. So like good upwards of 6.
Yeah.
So here comes a more difficult question, because I know we were kind of dancing around Spider-Man a little bit.
Yeah.
Which Spider-Man is your favorite?
Out of those 3? It's never an easy answer for me. Just know that, Rhino. Like, you ask me a question, it's never an easy answer.
Right.
Tobey Maguire was first. I was in junior high when it came out. It was a big deal. Spider-Man 1, like everybody loved, and when Spider-Man 2 came out, I was like, I like Spider-Man 2 better than Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 2, awesome. Spider-Man 3 comes out, I'm like, it's not that great. Like, there's some good moments in it, but like, whatever, I can take it or leave it. Then Amazing Spider-Man came out, and people had complaints about Andrew being like too cool. Right. You know, they would say that, and then I'm like, no, but it's just kind of an update. Things are a little bit different. Seemed like it was based a little bit more off of like Ultimate Spider-Man. But again, he was cooler than Ultimate Spider-Man. Not Ultimate Spider-Man was the best, but anyway, whatever. Hard to pick. Tobey Maguire is the original, but I'm not a fan of him. He's just a crybaby kind of like, and it's all right to cry, but he always like the movies Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 are so melodramatic. They're so like soap opera-y, like Mary Jane in her wedding dress at the end running to Peter. She leaves her wedding. Like, we don't need all that for Spider-Man, but okay. Andrew Garfield, though, I liked kind of the universe they were creating. It was kind of realistic, kind of dark, but almost too dark, right?
Yeah.
I like Amazing Spider-Man 2 also. Like, it's not great, but I enjoy the movie. And I think the best parts of like Amazing Spider-Man 2 or 1 and 2 is Gwen Stacy and Peter. Like, hands down the best part. Like, I can't give up the Amazing Spider-Man movies for that purpose, because then we don't get Gwen Stacy, you know? And I can't give that up. So to answer your question, Tom Holland, number 1. I'm going to say Andrew Garfield, number 2, Tobey, number 3. But respect to Tobey, you know? He's the OG.
Right. He is the OG.
Yeah.
What else was I gonna say? And then so that answers that question to some degree.
Yeah.
Like, so I know DC in some regard to some people are considering lower than MCU in some degree.
As far as the movies?
As far as the movies.
Yeah.
I try not to say that, but try to mean that. But
yeah.
I mean, I kind of see why you would think about like DC, at least in the movie sense, being a little lower than.
They had a lot of missteps. Like DC movies, there's bad DC movies. Like, even the worst Marvel movie is still like, okay.
Yeah. Like, I felt like the Justice League movie that brought Batman and everybody together was kind of rushed, at least in my opinion.
Oh, super rushed. Super rushed. Yeah. Okay. And that was because DC was trying to catch up to the MCU. Like, the MCU had what? They had Captain America, they had 2 Iron Man movies, they had Hulk.
Right.
And they had Thor. 5 movies, and then they did Avengers, and they brought in extra people, and then they made Avengers, right? And so DC was like so far behind, they were like, we're going to do a big team up movie and then do solo movies.
Which made no sense.
It made no sense, because the problem that you have is like if Avengers did it, there would be no way. Well, first thing, it would have crashed and failed. If Avengers came first, would have crashed and failed. You got to make people in love with each individual character. Right. And then you have to not only make them in love with them, because some people come in love with the character, right? Like, they're like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Maybe I'm just in love with those characters anyway. I'm going to accept whatever movie we get. But then you have to make them believe in those characters. And if you had Avengers where a super soldier, a god, a man in a robot suit, a guy with a bow and arrow, a Russian super spy, and like a big green monster all team up, you're like, even if I like some of those characters, I don't believe in all of them. It doesn't make any sense. How do they team up? How does this world exist? Right?
There's so many questions that can't be answered.
Right. So think about the Justice League.
Yeah.
Like up until that point, we had seen Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. Even then, Batman vs. Superman was horrible. Batman vs. Superman was bad. And so whatever. And these are obviously my opinions. There's no like meter that you can actually measure how bad a movie is, but I can tell you how bad it is. But I do not like it. And then you include Aquaman and the Flash. And who else? Cyborg.
Yeah.
So now we're believing that there's a guy in Atlantis, that Atlantis also exists.
Yeah.
We have the invasion of Darkseid and the parademons, which also big misstep.
Yeah.
You don't fight the devil in your first movie. You know what I mean? You work your way up to like the biggest, baddest, right?
That's how Marvel did it. Like if you look at the first Avengers movie, you fought a god with a super Saiyan army. Then
with Avengers, you're talking about like Loki and the Chitauri.
Yeah. So we got Loki and his army versus the Avengers. That's the first event.
Yeah.
Then you got Civil War, Avengers Civil War, where everybody just kind of fights each other.
Before that's Ultron. Keep that in mind.
Sorry.
Ultron. Then you have Civil War, which was a Captain America movie, but it's like an Avengers movie where they break up the band, right? Then you got Infinity War, then you got Endgame. Yeah. Imagine in the first Avengers movie if they fought Thanos first.
That would be way too rushed, in my opinion.
It's super right. So all these missteps of the Justice League, and then regardless, like I don't like Zack Snyder. I don't like his vision for the Justice League. I think he does some good things good and some things not. I don't like his vision for the Justice League. Right. Regardless, Warner Brothers wanted him out, and they used the death of his daughter to oust him. And then they brought in Joss Whedon, because Joss Whedon's kind of a dick too. And Joss Whedon had just gotten ousted from Marvel. Then he wants his own like kingdom, right?
Right.
And that messed everything up either way. But let's be honest, like, although Snyder's Justice League is better than the half Joss Whedon Snyder Justice League that we got in theaters, it's not that good.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, it's 6 hours or 4 hours long, right?
Trying to compete against Endgame.
Yeah, it's not that good. It was a better movie, and thus we were like accepted it, and we were like, okay, that was better. And it does do a couple of key things better. But the point being is like DC as a whole, and I don't blame Zack Snyder for it. DC as a whole just made all the wrong decisions.
So if you were the head of DC, let's just say for right now, how would you fix it moving forward? Or is it
right now?
Late? Yeah.
Oh no, I got ideas. I always got ideas. DC, like I got ideas for Marvel and DC. So like,
let's start
where to go from here? Yeah. I mean, we don't have to go over that. I'm just saying DC. Yes. First things first. I want James Gunn to do 2 movies. Okay, 2 movies. One is a Secret Six movie. In the comics, Secret Six. The premise of Secret Six is that all the villains have teamed up, but there are some villains that don't want to team up, and they end up being hunted by the other villains. Roughly. It's I got it here somewhere.
If you want to share the screen, you're more than welcome to.
No. It's not a. It's right here. There we go. It's villains. It starts off. The Secret Six start off in Villains United.
Okay.
Right here. And then they get their own series called Secret Six. But so was I saying Sinister Six? It's not Sinister Six, it's Secret Six.
Right.
So Secret Six, I would do a Secret Six movie, but not based off of that. Basically based off of Bloodsport, King Shark, Ratcatcher, and then add 3 more villains to them and have them be on the run from multiple villains. Like a whole mess of villains, but mess of villains that you could kill off, like just dumb villains that we've seen in the comics.
Right.
Like there's a guy named Hellhound. You can kill him easy. There's a hyena. You can kill her. There's a female hyena. Like she's like a were hyena, right? And like you can kill them. And these are ones who have died in the comics too. Okay. There's a Captain Nazi. Like James Gunn would love to have a Captain Nazi just show up and then get killed. So like do a Secret Six movie that's kind of a spin-off of the Suicide Squad. Right? Because they're on the run. Like, you watch Peacemaker?
I have not.
Oh, at the end of Peacemaker, they do something in Peacemaker. So the point being is that like in Secret Six, you don't have to worry about the Suicide Squad anymore, roughly.
Right.
So I do a Secret Six movie. That at least gets us to continue the stories with the potential and the goodwill that we've earned from the Suicide Squad. Second movie I would do is, because we can't do another Justice League movie, not just yet, I would do a Suicide Squad versus the Justice League.
So
the Justice League are the bad guys, kind of.
Oh,
they're the antagonists. They're not bad, they're good, but for the purpose of the main Suicide Squad, they're bad because they're against them, right?
Right. So this is more the point of view of the Suicide Squad, not the,
yeah. Yeah. And the way you do the Justice League is you can do whatever team you want, just consider it the new Justice League team. So it refreshes in our mind that the Justice League have been around since Snyder's Justice League. It doesn't really matter, but it's a kind of a fresh reboot. You can have a Justice League that has Superman, whoever you cast for your new Superman. You can have a Batman, whoever you want. You can have Hawkman just be on the Justice League. You can just assume that time has passed. And because they're kind of villains and antagonists, you don't have to go much into depth. You just have to know that they're the enemies of the Suicide Squad. Basic premise, Suicide Squad goes in to kill a dictator of another country, and the Justice League go into, they save the dictator from the Suicide Squad, but then the Suicide Squad still kills the dictator. And now we have this team versus that team. They have different ideals, different philosophies, right? You can have like really cool action scenes with it, but then you could also have like a talk about the different philosophies. Do you kill bad guys? Do you not kill bad guys? You know? And then it kind of sets a restart for then maybe after that, you do a new Justice League movie off of a good Suicide Squad versus Justice League movie.
Yeah. First, I think we need to establish a good Suicide Squad movie, period.
You didn't like the Suicide Squad?
I didn't. The one with that's the one with Will Smith and
no. That's Suicide Squad. You haven't seen the sequel?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one.
What?
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit.
That's one of the best DC movie. That's one of the best DC movies ever. One of. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and it has Bloodsport, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, Harley Quinn. It has. You got to see that. See that, and then you'll know, because James Gunn's doing a lot of good work for DC right now. Right. He did the Suicide Squad. He got to do Peacemaker. Like, you have to ride that wave. The Batman, also really good.
Right.
You could merge them kind of together and kind of continue that if you want to. It is what it is. Right. Aquaman 2 is coming out. Shazam is one of the better DC movies too. It's one of my favorite ones. Shazam's good. They're doing Shazam 2 and Black Adam. They're both coming out this year.
Yeah, Black Adam is with The Rock. Right?
With The Rock, yeah. But like Black Adam gets his powers also from the wizard Shazam. So like there's technically 2 Shazam movies in a way that are coming out this year.
Right.
We're getting Black Adam and Shazam 2. You know? Who knows what's happening with Flashpoint?
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Didn't Ezra Miller get fired or something?
He's on the run from the cops right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. I heard that. That's what the hell is wrong with you, guy?
Yeah. Ezra Miller has a lot of things going wrong, and they need help. So okay, fine, you know. But like, DC did a thing where they didn't vet their people. You have to vet your people. Marvel has good standing with like the people they bring on because they cut people or they vet people and they like look into you and see if you're like not a cool dude. And if you're not a cool dude, they don't work with you.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Yeah. But DC now, like the only members of the Justice League that are left actor-wise are Wonder Woman and Aquaman. It's just Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa. They're the only 2 left.
Wait, what happened to what's his face playing Batman? And
Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
Ben Affleck's last Batman movie was going to be Flashpoint because we're going to get two
Oh.
Batmen. We're going to get Michael Keaton Batman and Ben Affleck Batman.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's his last one. And Henry Cavill, he's gone as Superman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
we have what, 2/5 of the Justice League essentially?
2/6 of the Justice League. We're missing Cyborg, we're missing Flash, we're missing Superman, we're missing Batman.
So a third of the Justice League.
We have a third. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. You know, so
it's probably just instead of the Justice League.
it's just it's just us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be a funny movie. Just
it's Justice Leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They left. They're gone. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And, so Mike, I was wondering who's going to take over for Batman, Superman, Cyborg.
Henry Cavill. Yeah. Well, I don't know because they don't have. That's why I'm saying like they don't have plans for another Justice League movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
They can't have plans with a third of the Justice League
right
still there.
Right. But keep in mind that Robert Pattinson is the Batman from The Batman. But the question is, does that kind of give us a new Batman for a Justice League, or is it just going to be in its own kind of world?
Yeah, that's going to be the question now moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, wow, we talked about a whole lot of DC and Marvel stuff right there.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. So kind of flipping the question now, if you were the head of Marvel, what would you do moving forward?
First thing, I wouldn't want to be head of Marvel. Kevin Feige doing a great job. Like, I have no complaints. What I do want to be ahead of, I want to be ahead of the X-Men corner of Marvel. That's what I want. That's like that like X-Men corner of Marvel. Like I've thought about it, like how I want the X-Men to be in, like what series. Because X-Men, it shouldn't be one series.
Yeah.
Like we need an X-Men movie and an X-Force movie and an X-Factor movie. We need a new mutants, a new mutant series, you know? Like that's the thing about X-Men is like it shouldn't be one movie every 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. It should be 2 X movies every year.
Right.
Why not? But you got to make them all different enough so you don't get overwhelmed with it. But why not X-Men related TV shows on Disney Plus? Right. Like, you know, there are so many stories in X-Men, and I think that it really applies to the modern day. It applies to all time. Like, that's the thing about X-Men. It always applies, but like, you can really do some actual storytelling with X-Men visually, like in TV and film, you know?
So my question from that is, with the whole multiverse of madness, pun intended, how would you bring in the X-Men into the Marvel universe? Because we saw in at least, was it No Way Home, we got 3 Spider-Mans from across 3 different universes. So how would you play that into one universe? Or would you continue with the same universe here that we have with Tom Holland?
So a couple of different things, but yes, I would continue with the same universe. I'll tell you why. Okay. You saw Doctor Strange too? You saw Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay. 2 characters in that movie are characters that we saw in the first movie, but these are variants of them. And that is Christine Palmer and Mordo.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They are in most of the movie, but any growth that they have in that movie does not matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter because they're from a different universe. And in the real world, in our world, as we're talking right now, we can't think so broadly to like, there's a Dimitri in another universe and he's really grown as a human being. It's like, no, forget that guy. Like, it's about our growth, right?
Right.
So like what we want in the MCU and what we want as movies is character growth, characters learning about things, characters having relationships. But when they don't matter, they're in another universe that we're never going to see again. So who cares what happens to Christine Palmer in the other universe? Who cares what happens to Mordo in the other universe? But this movie had both of them in most of the movie. So who cares, right?
Yeah.
We care about Tobey Maguire and we care about Andrew Garfield because we've seen their universes and are connected with their universes. And now we're thinking, how have they been in the years past? What is going on over there? What's the growth? Mm-hmm. That being said, for Christine Palmer and Mordo and Multiverse of Madness, who cares? They're a different universe, right? So if we're going to do X-Men, first things first, we can't have just an X-Men universe because people aren't going to care. Maybe they might learn to care about that universe, but I think the MCU is the MCU, not the MCM.
Yeah.
It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We need to care about the universe, and I think that's what they're going for. We care about this universe and what happens in this universe. Because in another universe, Aunt May may still be alive, but like, who cares? It's this universe we care about, right?
Right. So Tom Holland.
So it's Tom Holland's universe, right?
Right.
So first thing, if we have X-Men just take place in another universe and we just tell stories there, there's no difference between that and the Fox universe. The Fox universe was its own X-Men related universe where the Avengers don't exist, but the X-Men do. We could do it that way. And am I going to still see the movies? Yeah, I'll still see the movies. I'll love them. Like if they do them right, yes. But we're missing a key component because you were saying you wanted Captain America to fight Wolverine. Yeah. We'll never get that if they're in a different universe. So then there's another option. There's three options, right? A different universe, our universe, or bring them over from a different universe, right?
Right.
You could bring them in from a different universe, but then you lose something. What do you lose? You lose all the history. You lose the history. We also lose the actual meaning of mutants. Mutants are like mutants, like your daughter could be a mutant, your son could be a mutant, your neighbor, your teacher, they could all be mutants, and we need to learn to like accept them, right? Accept the people who are different. But if the lesson learned is the people who are different just came from a different universe, you lose that. Right. You lose the actual stories you can tell when you have it that the X-Men come from a different universe. Then what's the point, right?
Right, that makes sense.
So then third option is they're in this universe. And I think that that's just the way you got to go. The comics do that. You have a shared universe. The Avengers have been around, right? And then the question is, well, why haven't we seen them? If they're in the same universe, why haven't we seen them? I mean, we haven't seen the Eternals until now.
Yeah.
We didn't know about Shang-Chi's like 10 Rings organization until now.
Yeah.
There are things we haven't seen, right? Yeah. Like, you know, Nick Fury could have a girlfriend, but we can't assume that he doesn't have a girlfriend because we haven't seen her.
Yeah.
We don't know everything about the MCU.
Right. We only know
and that's okay. Right. So the mutants to me have been around forever. You know, they've just been in secret. And that's where I would take the X-Men universe. They've always been around. The reason why they've always been around or how they could have stayed secret, that's up to the story writers. I have my ideas. That's a separate thing. But I think for best potential of storytelling, it has to be that the mutants have been around. They're from this universe. They're genetic abnormalities. They're the next stage in human evolution. That's what mutants are. Don't have them be aliens. Don't have them be from another universe because then they're not mutants.
Yeah. So kind of talking about X-Men, like,
do
you think the X-Men could move on after Logan? Because Wolverine is dead, at least at the end of Logan, he's dead.
We're talking about the Fox universe, right?
Oh, that's a different universe. Sorry, I got my things back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the Fox universe, Logan, I love Logan as a movie.
Logan was a good movie.
Yeah, but it kind of sets up a wall for what happens next.
Yeah.
Because in Logan, like all the mutants are dead. Like, okay, mutants aren't being born. And then they are at the end of that. But like, it's tough. It's like a new beginning, but it kind of ends it. So I'm fine with Logan's the end of that universe.
Right.
It ends.
Yeah.
But when we're telling fresh new X-Men stories, we can do whatever we want. So many more stories we can tell.
Right. The reason I ask that is because if I remember correctly, Deadpool at the end of the credit scene kind of comes in and finds Wolverine. They bought at least what's left of Wolverine. So I thought, like,
not in Logan.
Am I getting my stories mixed up again?
Yeah, because there is at the end of X-Men Origins Wolverine, we see Deadpool's like the dumb Deadpool's head like open his eyes and he's still alive. There's that. And then the end of Deadpool 2, but Deadpool 2 has always kind of been its own like universe. It doesn't really fit much with Fox because like Colossus is different, Juggernaut is different.
Yeah.
It's just doing its own thing. But Deadpool will be brought into the MCU. I think he'll just, I don't know what they're gonna do with Deadpool, but they are gonna do something with Deadpool.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be hilarious. So let me pull this up.
Yeah.
Okay. So he does visit what's his face's grave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. Just to let you guys know, neither of us own this video in any way.
Oh no, it's fan made, dude.
Oh, okay. It's fan made. That's why. Okay.
That's why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fan made.
Okay.
Which is cool, but like not continuity. Yeah. There's a lot of fan made stuff on the internet. Like I remember when Age of before Age of Ultron came out, they were like, oh, there's gonna be a post-credit scene of Age of Ultron with Andrew Garfield, and somebody released a clip of like Andrew Garfield like Spider-Man on a wall somewhere, and then it was like, oh, this is a real end credit scene, and turns out that was fake. It happens to the best of us.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies.
No worries.
Right. So X-Men also includes the Fantastic Four, right? If I remember correctly.
No, not the X-Men, but Fox does. Yeah. So Fox used to have the rights, right? Fox used to have the rights to X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Now Marvel bought Fox. Marvel now has the rights to the Fantastic Four and X-Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but Fantastic Four is not part of X-Men. Okay. They're a different thing.
So that's going to be fun to try to bring them into the Marvel MCU fold as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got kind of a hint at it with Multiverse of Madness and Reed Richards. But I don't think John Krasinski is going to play him in the MCU.
Yeah, I think he's kind of sort of done with Marvel.
John Krasinski?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it was a one and done thing, you know? Yeah. And that's fine. They'll cast someone else as Reed. And that's fine.
I mean, yeah. So that's just my opinion, but I think he's done, or at least towards being done with the MCU.
I don't think John Krasinski is going to sign up for the MCU in the first place. Like he did his one thing, he was one and done. I think he wants to like direct, like he's been doing the what's it called? The movies where you got to stay quiet when the aliens are going to attack you.
Oh, The Quiet Place?
Quiet Place. Yeah. He's on that. He's doing that stuff. Like he has a wife, he has some kids. Like, I think he's just doing his own thing, and that's cool.
Yeah. John Krasinski, I always remember him as Jim from The Office. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that's kind of where my head's at with everything, and I guess that's where we could end the show. Yeah. So I mean,
Oh, sorry.
There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about for hours on end. Maybe we can have you back on the show at a later point. Just continue the discussion of comics.
Yeah. There's always something to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess my final question is, where can people find you?
Yeah. When it comes to the Keeg, you can find the Keeg podcast anywhere you get podcasts from. So Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. We might be on some other apps, but those are like 5 podcast apps, like whatever. However you digest your podcast, you can find the Keeg or the Keeg Show. Just look it up. It's the same thing. Keeg. It's geek backwards. But if you're looking for our live streams, because we do live streams with all our podcasts. So like if you want to see kind of like what we're going here, you can find us at youtube.com/Thekeegshow. We also live stream to twitch.tv/Thekeegshow. And those are like our 2 ones, and we have all the past videos up on there as well. Now, if you want to find social media, we are on TikTok and Instagram mostly. So TikTok and Instagram at Thekeegshow. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. So pretty much it's The Keeg Show wherever you want, whether it's /Thekeegshow at Thekeegshow. We do multiple shows a week, and always staying busy.
So for those of you watching on YouTube, I'll put all the links to his social media and everything where his podcast can be sold in the description box down below. If you are listening to us on wherever podcasts are sold to, because we're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff, check the description box. It'll be there too. As always, before we sign off, you can follow me, the Rhino, at FirehawkArcher1 on Instagram, the show podcast at the Rhino and the Bat on Instagram, Facebook, same thing. You can follow me on my other two channels, Firehawk1 and 2. This is my third one for those of you who are new to the show. And as always, have a good one. See you next episode. Peace.
What's up, guys? Just want to make this quick pre-advertisement show. Like always, Smart Soap is our sponsor today, and you can see their ad here. Thank you, Smart Soap, for sponsoring this video. Much appreciated to you guys. As always, links in the description box down below. Please check them out. They do support the show, but don't worry, no added cost to you guys. They are a soap company. Shocker. And they basically help guys like me who are both martial artists and lifters to basically keep clean. Obviously, if you're a martial artist, you don't know who has what. You're sweating everywhere. Same thing with lifting too. You don't know which sweaty person touched what, and yeah, it keeps you safe. It keeps you clean, and it keeps you safe from ringworm and other stuff that could actually be, number one, contagious. Number two, be very harmful for you and other people. So just stay safe. And like I said, it's a great soap company. I actually personally use this, so I can actually tell from experience that, hey, this is something that you should definitely check out. But as always, thank you for listening, and here is your podcast.